Welcome to the Wide for the Win podcast. Our goal at Wide for the Win is to help authors grow publishing success across multiple platforms and formats through education, training, support, and community. If you're interested in reaching readers around the world, diversifying your income as an author, and exploring the freedom of living a truly indie author life, you've come to the right place. Hey.
Hello. Greetings.
Well,
Happy Wednesday.
Greetings.
We're back. And I'm gonna
Back in 2025, right? This is
Yes.
exciting time. Exciting
It is
times with a generic ask us anything, particularly as it relates to the new year. Maybe plans, maybe wanting to share some of your own goals,
Yeah.
dreams. Or wait, did we have a show already this year and I've just lost track?
No, I think it was the one right before New Year's. That last
Gotcha.
Wednesday of the year. Or might have been
That
the
was
New
the-
Year's Eve.
Okay, that was the plans
yeah.
for the new year. Yeah, now we wanted to just say, hey, anyone out there who has any burning questions? Yeah.
And this would be a really good time. So if you're catching the show later on, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button so that you get notifications. Because
Sure.
prime example, went to go post this a week ago when Mark generated the links and everything to the Facebook group. And for some reason it didn't post. So for the entire week, I'm sitting there thinking it posted. And then this morning I woke up, I'm going, okay. I'm like, usually somebody comments on the posts and asks a question because I can't make it live.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, I haven't seen any questions about this. So I went to go look and it never posted.
Oh no. Oh man. Well, that's
And I don't know if it's because it's a YouTube link and I should have put it in the comments instead of in the main post or what's going on. So if you haven't subscribed, now would be a great time to do that.
yeah. And I have subscribed, so I will get notified whenever I schedule these. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
And that's because also we cannot live stream to Facebook anymore. It only allows you to go to pages, not groups or something like that from outside Facebook. So, and not that anyone would ever see it on Facebook anyways, because, you know, we offer way too many facts and, you know, that they never make it to Facebook anymore. All right. I want to start, Suzie. I want to start with a question that comes up a lot, and I think it's really important, particularly for those who might be new to wide publishing. And the first question is, so we know with Amazon that they're willing to take all of our money. I mean, they're willing to, they have an ad platform where you can market directly on Amazon, right? So that makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So how does an author who's used to potentially, you know, okay, I go to Amazon and I pay them money and they show my books to people, hopefully the right people. How does an author advertise their books in a wider way?
Well, number one, so your Amazon ads still work because there are more readers on Amazon than just KU readers.
That's true. Okay. All right. But you don't give them up, right? You just
right. Yeah. I think was Written Word Media or Readsy. I can't remember which one last year. I think it was last year. Maybe it was the year before. I've totally lost track of time. Did a survey, and Kindle Unlimited readers, 80% of them still buy books as well. They don't just do nothing but borrow. So I mean, they're still, even if they have a KU subscription, they're still buying books. So if you're a wide author on Amazon, they're still going to buy your books if they want to read your books.
Okay.
So it makes sense to advertise there. But also if you're wide, and if you're looking at the CPC style, which is like your Amazon ads, cost per click or cost per, view, CPV, I think is the other one. I can't think of it off.
Yeah, I was going to say cost per DM or something, but no, that cost is cost per 1,000 impressions or something.
Let's just go with cost per click. So you also have Facebook ads. There's other social media ads. I think Instagram has some, TikTok, Twitter/X.
Right.
I mean, there's CPC ads everywhere, but one of the ones that I actually really like is BookBub ads. We're not talking featured deals. We're talking the actual CPC BookBub.
You're talking about an ad.
Yes,
but what's the benefit there? Oh, is the benefit that you can link to more than just one retailer?
Exactly. And the other thing too is you can also choose yourself, and this works very well, and this is one of the recommendations, choose yourself as a target. Because what happens is anybody who has ever clicked on, liked, favorited, reviewed one of your books on their platform, then is shown the ad.
Right. Yeah, and people forget often to target themselves.
Yeah.
It sounds wrong. I'm going to target myself.
Yes. Yes. And the other thing too is because you can have the other platforms. What I see most wide authors do for BookBub ads is they actually don't include Amazon. So they'll target just those wides, and that way you're not competing with authors for Amazon. Yeah.
Oh my God, I never thought about that. Really? Oh wow. Oh, interesting. I never. You know what? I've never tried that. I'm going to try that next time. I'm just going to target my other wide platforms where I actually make the full 70%.
Yeah. Right. Oh, 99 cents.
Or more at Smashwords. So okay. And that reminds me. So BookBub, obviously getting a BookBub feature deal is like winning the lottery. It's hard for people whose first name isn't Suzie and last name isn't O'Connell to get a BookBub feature deal. Says the guy who just got rejected again. God bless them. I love the people at BookBub, but they have a lot of competition and a lot of really great authors, and I don't always get my deals. Like every 25 or 30 submissions, maybe I get an acceptance, But there are, just like Amazon is the world's largest retailer for English language books, and some of the other retailers are not necessarily as big. There are other platforms where it may be easier or almost guaranteed to get a deal. And I've recently had some good success with the aforementioned writtenwordmedia.com, Bargain Booksy, Free Booksy. But they also have connections to a Fussy Librarian and a few, because they now offer like pre-built like stacking where you can actually get promo stacks, and so I can use Written Word Media to stack 3 or 4 different I think up to 3 different promo stacks, and then there's another company called Crave Books, even smaller than Written Word Media. They haven't been around as long, so obviously it takes a while to build up. And with Crave Books, I could also get into a whole bunch, and I just booked one just earlier today. I just went into Crave Books, and I'm trying to. Did I make a note here? Bargain ebook. Crave Books has its own platform, and I didn't write down the ones that I booked, but they've got a slew of different platforms, and sometimes it's like $5 or $14, so it's not $800 or whatever. But I find that also is potentially putting me in front of a different audience from a different newsletter.
Yep, exactly.
And links to all of the main retailers as well. And I think on Crave Books, I think I was able to add my Smashwords link, but I was also able to add my PayHip store, my direct sales. Yeah, so why not take advantage of it? And it's so funny. I did run some promos just earlier towards the end of the year on a different book, and the beginning of the year, they sort of, as people had new Kindles and Nooks and Kobos under their tree and stuff like that. And I'm still seeing some tail tag on. I don't notice on the retail sites because I can't tell, but I can tell the people who are downloading directly from my store. This is for a free download, because again, they get the free download. I get them for my newsletter list, right?
Yeah, that's a really great point. That actually does remind me. We probably need at some point to update our list in Wide for the Win of things like Crave Book and Written Word Media and Robin Reed's Fussy Librarian. So that was kind of one tip that we always bring up that this brought to mind is when you're booking newsletter promos, don't necessarily avoid the ones that are Kindle only, but definitely focus your time and your money on the ones that include all the links or as many of the links as you have available.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you want to build your wide readership, it makes more sense, right? To actually make sure that readers at those platforms are being emailed about your books if they're subscribed to these newsletters.
Yeah. And again, some of those platforms may not be as big, or the email lists may not be as large as the world's largest retailer. They're better priced, but also, and again, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it does take a long time to build a wide readership. So sometimes they may have to see your book come up so I'm in Canada. I am a Kobo reader, so I when I look for ebooks, I tend to look there on the Kobo site. So when I'm looking at my BookBub email and I'm looking at emails from Crave Books or Bargain Booksy or whatever, I'm only looking for the Kobo link, because if there's no Kobo link, I just skip it. Right.
Yeah.
That's the only place I'm going to buy ebooks. Pretty much. And I'll sometimes buy them directly from the author, because with BookFunnel, it's easy enough to be able to read it. But I like reading on my actual Kobo device, the actual proper e-ink device that has the built-in light that doesn't mess with your brain at night when you're reading in bed. So
blue light.
So sometimes they have to see it numerous times, right? Oh, it's like, oh, I've seen this book. I've seen this book. I've seen this book. And I'll be honest with you. I just read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. When did that come out? 10 years ago? It's like, I just read it. I'm just now in the process of reading
That's such a cool title.
Dude from the Martian. Andy Weir wrote Hail Mary, which I think came out 2 or 3 years ago. And I love Andy Weir. And it's been on my to read pile for a long time, but I'm finally just reading it. But I had to keep seeing people talk about it and recommend it, right? And before I bought it.
Yeah, that's me in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I've had The Way of Kings on my bookshelf for several years, and I keep starting it and kept getting interrupted. Well, then I was seeing all this new, all the information coming out about the 5th and final in the part 1 or phase 1 was going to be released in December. So I'm going, all right, you know what? I'm going to read it. So I'm like, same thing, like seeing all those bits and pieces here, like somebody's talking about the new book here and somebody's talking about it over there. I finally actually broke down, and I don't know how old The Way of Kings is. It's 2000. I could go grab it, but so I finally actually sat down and read the book and then devoured the rest of the available books. I guarantee you there are other readers doing the same thing with your books.
For sure.
I mean, I still occasionally get emails from people that picked up a copy of what is now the second book of my series. It was the first originally from 10 years ago or 9 years ago. Finally got around to reading that free book and then went through and bought the rest of the series. So, you know.
And was it Suzie, was it you that was sharing this with me earlier, is that there are people who may have been on your mailing list for years and you've assumed they've read all of your books. Yeah. But that is not always the case. So your own mailing list, don't discredit it just because maybe you talked about this book 5 years ago or something when it was first released. If you're doing a promo on this new on that old backlist book, there's probably I bet you there's people on your email newsletter that have not read it. I mean, unless you have 2 people on your email newsletter and you know that they both bought the book. Hey, hi, Mom.
I have numbers on this. I have numbers.
You do? Oh,
example. Okay, so I've got just under 4,000 on my newsletter now. I had a BookBub featured deal on the 7th book in my series. It has never been free before. I would figure, I haven't released a book in 7 years. Most of the people who are still hanging on my newsletter list have read all my books, right? So I just sent it out, and I didn't say anything in the newsletter. I just had a little graphic at the bottom with the book's cover and then said free for a limited time, and then made the graphic clickable. And I had 156 clicks on it. And this was before it was announced anywhere else that it was free. I had a boost of sales of something like 80 some.
Wow.
So, and I can't say 80 of the people on my list actually went out and downloaded it, but I can say that at least 23 people emailed me to tell me that they downloaded it. So of those 100, what was it, 80 something? I can't remember what the number is now. But yeah, 23 people emailed me to let me know, thank you for offering the book for free. I just downloaded it. They'd never read it before.
So the lesson here is so important, is you think that somebody has seen or heard about something because they're already on your author newsletter.
Yeah.
But, we know it takes sometimes 7 impressions. So maybe they forgot about it because they're busy and they have all kinds of other things going on, or they missed that month when you sent that out, or that week when you sent that out, or they skipped through it or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know, for example, when I talk to authors and I do one-on-one consulting with authors, I'll say something that I thought, oh man, they've probably heard me say this a dozen times, because I say this at least 16 times a week, and stuff like that. And then they go, oh wow, cool, I never thought of that. And I realize we don't attend to every single thing that's out there. So just because it happened in the vicinity of your ears didn't mean that you heard it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yes.
So we're getting to 15 minutes. So hold that thought, because we have sponsor bits. We have sponsor parts for these episodes, and we're just past the halfway point. But in our circle group, you have the ability to interact with so many of our industry partners who are supporting the Circle community, and you have ways to interact with them directly. And one of our Circle community folks are the good people of Author Nation. And I'm going to play a really quick word about Author Nation, because Author Nation 2025 is coming up in later this year. That's right. And here's a little bit about Author Nation. Your fellow widelings didn't just meet at Author Nation, they came away amazed. With 9 dedicated wide publishing sessions, direct sales workshops where authors shared real numbers, global marketplace strategies that helped authors earn 50% or more outside Amazon. The best part? You're learning from pioneers who are already doing it. Joanna Penn, Andrew Davis. One 14-year Amazon exclusive veteran left a review of the Why Wide session with only these words: 5 out of 5, time to change gears. Expand your horizons and take your network wide for the win at Author Nation 2025. Learn more at authornation.live.
That was awesome.
And that is a huge thanks to the folks, to our industry partners who help sponsor the Circle community. So important to have them there, but so important for you, dear viewer, dear listener, that you can go and connect with them. You can go to our Circle group for free, and you can connect with them and ask them direct questions. And there's a lot of great interaction there. So thanks to Author Nation and our industry partners. You'll be hearing from different partners in every episode of this podcast.
Yeah. Plus, looking to add more, right?
Oh yeah, of course, because again, the benefit that our partners are seeing is that, unlike Facebook, unfortunately, where sometimes even if they're tagged, they can't find the question because there's so much noise and all kinds of other things that they're trying to drive people to with paid ads and stuff like that. On the Circle community, you can only focus on, okay, I only care about audiobooks, for example, or I only care about, hey, I want to learn more about Apple. I really want to increase my sales on Apple. You can focus on those various channels and connect in various ways.
Or like me right now, I'm focused primarily on writing, so I don't want all the noise from the other groups, so I can leave the other spaces and focus just on the writing craft space.
Exactly. You care about craft right now. And yeah, I love that. So, okay. But before I started that ad, you were about to share something really cool.
And I was smart and I wrote it down. So newsletter tip on the whole, don't assume that everybody on your list has read all your books. So what I found really, really useful, and it's not a huge seller, but I usually get, 4 or 5 sales every newsletter I send out with a 4,000 member list.
Yeah.
Include one of those graphics at the bottom. And it doesn't even have to be a free book. It doesn't have to be a discounted book. It can be either you can do it for your sale and not your sale, your direct sales store. So if you have a PayHip or a Shopify store or WooCommerce,
right,
and you want to focus on selling there, you can just have a little graphic that says, hey, newsletter subscribers get 10% off with this code at checkout. And then a link to the store. Or what I found really useful is actually focusing on like a different one of my books every newsletter. Okay. So I have graphics set up for all of my books that I rotate through. Right. Unless I've got a sale going on, in which case I'll do it with a sale. But I mean, just something simple like having that little graphic at the bottom. And I mean, it's at the bottom under my signature. And it's so between 5 and 10 sales every time.
I love that. And if you don't have a direct store, because it does take effort to set up, and not every author's done that, there are places that you can DIY coupon codes. So with the Barnes & Noble, B&N Press Direct, you can create your own coupon code for there. And you can feature it. So this month I'm going to feature B&N Press. And this book on B&N Press is 30% off. Or here's a coupon code for Google Play. Right? Get this or Smashwords. Those are the 3 I know you can DIY coupon codes. You don't need to rely on someone to make them for you. You can go and do them yourself. And there you go. There's 3 different newsletters, same book, 3 different platforms. And you never know, because someone's like, oh, I've never checked out books on this platform. I'm going to go check it out because I can save 30%. Or if they are a fan of any of those platforms, winner.
Winner. Well, yeah, and that's a great point too. And if you're following the advice to focus on one wide platform per year or per 6-month stretch, that's a great way to focus on it by doing those coupon codes in your newsletter. And then you can also have other, author friends say, hey, I've got this coupon code. If people want to have them sign up for my newsletter, you can work on building your newsletter that way. There's lots of different ways that you can leverage that wonderful newsletter that we always say is a necessity.
And the other thing that's so important that you do when you do something like that in your newsletter is the retailers aren't going to see it, but you are referencing Barnes and Noble or Apple or Google or Kobo or Smashwords or any of those other platforms. And it never hurts for you to acknowledge to your readers that you can get your stuff there. What I often do by default in the bottom of my author newsletter is I have a link to Overdrive here in North America is one of the largest wholesalers for library platforms. And overdrive.com, it has a public facing page that shows a lot of my published books there. Nice. And I said, you can get pretty much any one of my books for free through your local library. So you can click on this overdrive.com map. It takes you to Mark Leslie or Mark Leslie the Fave, because I've got the two different brands. And you can see if your local library has my book. And if not, well, then you can request it. So, and that's for ebooks, obviously, but you can always request the print book or the audiobook too.
Yep.
Oh no, that's for audiobook and ebook, I should say. It's digital only.
Digital. There we go. There's the keyword. Yeah. I love newsletters, especially with social media, with all the craziness with AI bots. Now Meta wants to introduce AI bots. We're already not seeing posts. Like, I don't see posts from my friends and the pages that I follow until like 5-6 days later.
Right.
If there's anything time sensitive, newsletter.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, looking forward. What do you think, Mark, since we're at the beginning of the year? I'm thinking newsletters are going to be even more important than they were before. Yeah,
so says the guy who hasn't yet sent out an author newsletter this year, and it's the 15th of the month already. And what I did try to do is I was doing only monthly, and I was looking at, well, can I do something twice a month, even if it's just. And here's the thing. Here's the mindset issue I have. Well, I don't want to bother them unless I have something really big to tell them. And I think what you forget is they probably don't have time to read anything really long anyway. So giving them something relatively small or whatever could potentially impact them. The other thing too is I share a lot of tidbits and things like that on social media all the time. And they're just little things. Like I just got a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who paints, sent Liz and I a beautiful Christmas card because of the Canada Post strike. We just got it yesterday because from the beginning of November till Christmas, they had this huge backlog. Well, but it's this gorgeous skull. I love skulls. I'm a horror author. And it's this gorgeous skull card. So I just took a picture. I'm like, I'm going to share this on social media because it fits my brand and whatever. Well, just because I shared it on Instagram, for example, and I went to Facebook or I shared it on Twitter as well, doesn't mean that the people who subscribed to my newsletter even saw it. So I could use the same, look at this cool skull someone sent me. Like someone, a good friend of mine sent me. I love it. I think it's amazing. Just sharing something like that. It doesn't have to be about selling your books. It's just about sharing those things that some of your readers might be interested in. Going like, yeah, Mark writes scary stories. Of course he has a skull collection.
My two cows are stars of my newsletter. I frequently have to provide updates about my cows.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
those cows are not featured in most of your books, right?
Not those two particular cows, but I do have cows.
Well, you do have cows. Of course, you have cows, but not those two cows.
Not my cow specifically, no. But it's for the reason it works for me is because it ties in. I have a lot of ranchers ranch hands as heroes in my books or heroines. Yeah. So it gives the real world experience that's goes into my books. They get the backstory behind it. But what I found with newsletters, people, a lot of readers say, I don't want anything chatty. And for some reason that may be true. I have found the exact opposite to be true. In fact, like just little fun life tidbits, like sharing about the skull card that you got, or me sharing about my cows, or the pictures that I take and the places I write about. It doesn't have to be about your books. I mean, if you can tie it back into at least the interest or the things that you share in your books, then it's going to be, it'll go over a lot better. But readers tend to enjoy that. Which is, again, that's like, I haven't released a book in 7 years, so I have no big news for my readers. And yet I still have people that have been following me for that entire breadth of time for my newsletter. And what I found works best is weekly is the best. Bi-weekly is the next best. Monthly, it tends to get a little stretched out. I try to keep it under 500 words. And speaking of which, I didn't send one last week. It's been a little bit hectic around here and a little stressful and depressing. So I just didn't have it in me to write one. Gotcha. But I do need to actually update them because I told them what on the first, what my goals were for the year for my writing. Right. And I need to update them and let them know that I'm actually sticking to it.
Oh, good. Well, that's good news.
Yeah. So they'd appreciate hearing that, even if it's not the genre most of them read.
Yeah.
But I never would have thought. I would be the same. Well, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to, clutter up their inbox unless I have something to, like a book for them to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been totally the exact opposite. In fact, my most open newsletters are usually the ones that are not salesy. They're not about books. I mean, of course, my readers love my books, so they like seeing that too. But I'm going that was one of the biggest things that surprised me about my newsletter was that people actually want to read any little tidbit. And part of it is like we are writers. So even in our newsletters, we tend to be telling a story of some kind. So they're still getting stories, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
exercises that creative spirit that has driven you to become a storyteller in the first place.
Yep, exactly. And keep it short so they're not reading a novel. If they want to read a novel, they'll go buy your books.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but and just be chatty. You don't have to share every deep, dark detail of your life. Just little fun anecdotal stories they love.
Yeah. And you never know. Yeah, you never know. But now, speaking of keeping it short, we have been trying to keep these episodes to half an hour or less. Mm-hmm. So any final words of advice before we wrap up for this week?
Tune in next week.
Oh, that's good advice. What's coming up next week?
Next week. I don't know. Did you get that one confirmed?
Oh, yeah, I do. Is that with Deanna?
No, that's with Ron. Deanna's the week after.
Oh my God, no, I haven't yet, but I can.
We can flip-flop that too.
We can flip-flop that. So we do have DF Hart. We have Deanna Hart from the Wide for the Win board coming up in either next week or the week after, sharing some, and we recorded that earlier this week, sharing some really important financial advice. And Ron Vitale, who recently shared something on Wide for the Win in the Circle group. Did he share it in the Facebook group?
I think he shared it in both.
Shared it in both. I only saw it in the Circle group because I can actually find things there.
Yeah.
And it was a realistic, really amazing look at sales, and I'll be wanting to interview him for that as well. So those will be 2 of the forthcoming episodes. Suzie, thanks again so much for hanging out and sharing some fun stuff with me.
Always. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're catching the podcast later on, have a great week, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to the Wide for the Win podcast. For links to our Facebook and Circle groups and other helpful Wide publishing resources, go to wideforthewin.com. The music for this podcast, Sax and Rock and Roll, was written and performed by Kevin MacLeod and was licensed at incomptet.com.